Welcome back to Gaming Views. Huge news this week. We're pivoting the podcast to become a live service model.
That's right. Gaming Views is no longer a podcast. It's a platform.
Yep. The episodes are free, but if you want our actual opinion, that's in the VIP Platinum exclusive premium pass.
Also, our microphones will become much quieter, which of course is intentional.
Exactly. You can boost our audio with the $4.99 microphone volume booster pack.
And we've also added daily challenges, such as listen to 3 ads without skipping to unlock bonus features.
Don't forget to tell them about the weekly quest, Dan.
Ah, yeah, the week's quest. Recommend a podcast to a friend who really doesn't want it.
And in even more exciting news, we are introducing our brand new and feature-rich roadmap. Stay tuned for implementations such as fishing in episode 60.
Fishing? For what?
I mean, engagement, Dan.
Oh, yeah. We'll also be introducing seasons. Seasons 1 theme is hype. Season 2 is apology.
And season 3, we're going to remove a feature everyone likes and we're going to call it creative vision.
And for our hardcore listeners, we've added endgame content each week.
Which ultimately is just going to be Dan and I arguing about what the episode theme will be next week. So make sure you lock in your subscriptions now as we take you into another episode of Gaming Views.
Dan and Dan with a gaming flair, pixel dreams and worlds to share, joystick tales and button cues. Welcome to Gaming Views.
It's all right, everyone. We're not quite a live platform yet. Sounds dodgy, but
not yet, Dan. It's coming.
If
RAM prices keep going up.
Yeah, we're being affected by Ramageddon. No, the opening there is just a little, obviously, taster of what this week's episode is all going to be about. And it's kind of, for a couple of reasons. One, it's a follow-on from last week where we talked about Ark Raiders. And 2, if I could have £1 for every time Dan has said Ark Raiders to me or mentioned the game, I probably wouldn't need to work again for the rest of my life. Is that fair, Dan?
I have a problem. I have a problem, Dan. Yes, I'll admit it.
But we will come on to that in a little bit. But Dan, good week otherwise?
It's been a wonderful week of it's been Monday, so it's been all right so far.
No, I've had a good week. I'll mention it when it gets close to the time, but I had the pleasure of recording with a good old podcasting friend of mine, Antonio of the Cultworthy and Back to the Balcony, where I got invited onto his show to talk about retro games that we would like to be turned into films. So yeah, go check that out. It was good to record with him. I've not done that for about a year or so, but we
can't wait to listen to it. Sounds very, what you told me, it sounds super exciting. So I'm going to tune in.
Yeah, I had fun with that, and maybe we might nick the idea in 6 months' time as part of our roadmap.
What the retro movies we want to see made into video games?
Well, I've got a lot of ideas about that and TV shows, so we could do that.
Okay. I want a Knight Rider TV show. I want a Knight Rider game, not a TV show. There's been one of those.
Right, Dan, we are going to start with you. And look, I laugh, but I've been the same. But what have you been playing this week?
Hands up, I genuinely have some sort of problem, Dan, because I have invested all of my time in nothing but Ark Raiders, and I think it's a serious issue that I may need to seek counselling about, or some sort of support group or something. And I'm not talking about, subreddits that tell me where the best loot loops are, or YouTube channels. I have devoted my entire gaming time to Ark Raiders, which I've said it before is absolutely fucking insane when I think about it, because I would not have. We'd have fallen out if you'd have suggested to me that this time last year, or you'd have gone, yeah, in a year's time you'll be addicted to a live service game. I'd have gone, yeah, shut up, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I've barely played them either before. I've not really been taken by them.
Destiny. I think Destiny was probably the last one I played a lot of, but not to this level. It's mad. Like, I mean, I'm a level 42 now. Level 42.
Level 42.
There's a music clip in there somewhere, with some slap bass. I'm level 42, and over the past, what have I been playing it for? I've owned it 2 weeks. I think I've owned it.
A couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I've put 67 hours into it.
Yeah. I thought I was some going. I've got 20, just under 24, I think, at the moment. Yeah.
That's like nearly 3 days of my last two and a half weeks.
But what's been good about it, though, is we've had quite a few sessions together on that as well. And I think it's the first game that has... Look, maybe not to the extent of you, but also... And look, last week, housekeeping, subscribe to us, click the follow button, like, subscribe, share, follow, leave comments and all that. Go check last week's episode out. Yeah, go check last week's out, Smooth. Go check last week's episode out where we do discuss Arc Raiders. But yeah, it's something that, like I said, predominantly Dan, but even me, I've not, and look, we'll talk about some of them in today's episode, but I've not really been played a bit Destiny, but that was only with you and there was somebody else we worked with at the time. Played a bit of Helldivers, but again, that was because of the GCP boys and yourself playing in the Force. So neither of those, the game didn't grab me. Whereas this, we were talking about it at lunch. We're talking about the runs we've done, what we're going to do, what we're thinking about, and it's just grabbed our imagination, hasn't it?
I go to bed thinking about what I'm going to do in Arc Raiders next time I play. I wake up thinking about what I'm going to do in Arc Raiders next time I play. And if I'm watching YouTube, it's normally about what runs other people have done in Arc Raiders. And I'm just like, it's it. And then I go, I can do that. Like, I see people jumping on top of bastions and planting mines. I'm like, I can do that. I can't do that, but I can do that. Yeah. I'm like, honestly, this game has done something weird to me. And I've just been, every chance I've got to pick up a controller, I'll be like, I'll go do a bit of Death Stranding. And I'm like, but if I just go and do that bit on the dam or that bit on Buried City, and I'm getting every run, I'm getting a little bit braver. I'm now taking full loadouts to Buried City. It's like I'm advancing a little bit by bit. Because I'm not going to lose him. I'll be all right.
That's the beauty. I think the beauty of this game. So the reason I've not played as much is because I've had a couple of other games that have kept me occupied, but they've gone now.
Well done, you.
Yeah, they've gone now. But you know, we were saying, and I messaged you the other night, and I said it's as viable a game solo as it is teamed up with someone.
Totally.
Like, I wouldn't want to play Helldivers 2. And look, before people shout, I know you can, but I wouldn't want to play Helldivers 2 solo or going in with random people. Destiny 2, again, never grabbed me. But this game, it feels like it is a viable product just to go a solo, right? And most of your runs going to be solo, isn't it?
I think, probably about 80% of my runs have been solo. And in fairness, Destiny was a great solo game as well, and Destiny 2. You know, they're all doable solo, except for like the bigger raids, which I guess is similar to this. You can solo a queen or a matriarch. I don't think it's advisable, but you can do it. Whereas I think a lot of the raids, particularly ones with some of the puzzle elements and stuff in Destiny, were much more complex. You needed to go in with a squad. Yeah, I won't say anything more about it because people would be bored after last week's episode. But it's just there's something very special about that game. And no doubt I'll come back next week and say, I think the next thing that's going to knock it off, or at least reduce my time, we've got Romeo's the Dead Man coming up, which I'm very much looking forward to. And then Replaced is coming up in early March. Yeah. And again, I read a preview of that today and that just looks phenomenal. It looks much more sprawling and broad than I thought it would be as well. So a couple of games are on my radar that are kind of like, well, that might take some time. I'll still be going back to this.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about it for a few more minutes because Arc Raiders is on my what we've been playing. So
Good. Let's talk about Arc Raiders, Dan.
The only thing I would add to what we said, and we mentioned it today when we went for a walk, is I think also the great thing about it, and again, you probably can get it in other games, but for me, it's those moments that you look back on and that give you that bit of adrenaline. Like, we did a run last night. We were in Buried City, weren't we? And you had the town hall key. We went in, we looted. I think we had a fair few epics each. And then
you put a door breach on to stop other people coming in and sneaking up on us and murking us. Yeah.
Put a door breach, but then that got taken down. And as we were going to go out, there was a couple of there was a singular raider sort of was coming in and said hello. So you and I both instinctively, because I think the round before we'd
Well, I lobbed a lure grenade outside because there was a bombardier right outside. So I lobbed the lure grenade out because I thought, well, if he's trying to murk us, then I'll bring the Ark into support.
Well, we had a bad experience in the game before, didn't we?
Yes.
And so what it was for about 5 minutes, you and we didn't want to leave through the front door of this because we thought no, because for those of you who know the map, you've got the extraction point is right in front, isn't it? In the centre of the square, isn't it?
Yeah, the station one, yeah.
So I remember saying to you, I'm sure I saw a window that you could open. So then for a few minutes, I was running around trying to find this window. We found it. You had a zip line because it was too high, but then you couldn't fit the zip line, could you? You couldn't plant it. You finally did. We extracted and got out. And I'm like, for 5 minutes, we were terrified to walk out of a door in the game. And that's what makes the game good. Yeah.
It's those brilliant moments, like when we did Stella Montis and the shredders were after us and we managed to barricade ourselves again, the door barricade in a room. And I was frantically run out of ammo and I was like, what can I do? I can field craft. So I crafted some grenades and took out one below us and we managed to duck out. We did get took out by some raiders on that event, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just those moments that it makes. And it's insane. The dopamine hit you get from getting out with a really great run and doing something really cool, like just taking out one of the bigger arcs on your own because you've had the balls to go at it. And I said editing last week's episode, I genuinely struggled because I was half joking. I was editing the episode and as I was editing, I'm going, I'm just gonna, and I took breaks just to go and play Ark Raiders.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking about it was making me want to play it.
The final thing I will say, and it's true, because you do learn, you do sort of improve, you do kind of, what's the word? Expand what you normally would do. And the lessons you learn, I learned the lessons the hard way. So for those of you who watched the video last week, you'll have seen me fall down a lift shaft. So it's like, don't jump backwards if you've just zip lined up a lift shaft. That's the lesson I've learned. But I was saying to you, there's, on damn Battlegrounds, there's the water treatment extraction site. There's some pipes above where you can get some weapons and ammo cache. Yeah. I was running along those pipes. Now, bear in mind, these are quite high off the ground. And then in the distance, I think it was a Hornet. And I can't remember the gun I had, but I had a good gun. I was staring at it for about a minute, literally. And the thought process was going, Dan, don't do it because you've got a lot of loot on you and you don't need to. The extraction's underneath. But then I was thinking, but I've got a good gun. I get a bit of XP. And I was having this argument and I thought, you know what, sod it. I shot it. Then all of a sudden, what I hadn't seen, like behind me, there was like a couple of Hornets came. I then fall off, sort of hit the ground, get down, and I couldn't get to the extraction in time. So, don't antagonise the art life. Yeah,
art life. That's what it is.
Right. I have played some other things though. This was
what you've been playing
more at the start of the week though, so to finish them. So finally completed God of War Ragnarok, and you know, from saying it the first week, sort of 2 weeks ago, that the story didn't grab me. I loved this game in the end. The build up, the momentum, the attack on Asgard, the sort of battle with Thor and then Odin, kind of the end scene with yourself and Atreus. There's like not a hidden mission, but if you do a side mission with Sindri afterwards, it kind of sets up possibly something for the next game. And just incredible. In the end, I kind of wished that the story was a bit longer. And like I said, look, it's incredibly well acted. Who'd have thought a story or a game that's centered around like basically a gruff barbarian sort of God of War ultimately can have a lot of emotion and kind of themes of loss and grief. It's incredible how it weaves that in.
I can't wait for whatever Santa Monica Studios do next. I'm hoping it's another God of War, obviously, because they've taken that franchise and just turned it on its head and made it something super good. And I love both of them. I do want to go back and play Ragnarok. I think it's the one I've only played twice. I want to play it through a third time, like I have with the original God of, but not the original, the latest God of War. It's such a good game. Yeah. Such a good game.
So that's completed.
I've been playing Ark Raiders though, so I've never.
The game this week that it won't appear next week, which is a shame, is Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So from when they repackaged the trilogy a few years ago, it was GTA 3, San Andreas, and Vice City. Now, I loved these games back in the day, absolutely loved them. But I know I know when these got released, there was a plethora of bugs and it got fixed. But do you know what I found really difficult is controlling the character in this. It feels like it's just
a bit clunky.
It's not even clunkily. It's not even clunkily.
Easy for you to say.
It just feels like you've got no real control. It's almost the other way. And it's like I tried switching between the modern and the classic controls, but I just found some of the missions incredibly difficult to control.
Like twitchy when you're trying to aim and things like that.
Yeah, like oversensitive. And I've tried, and look, maybe there's some more settings I can look at, but I did like the first sort of 15 odd missions, and I still love the game. I think Vice City is my favourite one because of the 80s. This on Steam Deck? No, this was on Xbox.
This is on the Xbox?
Yeah, this is on the Xbox. Huh. It's just, it just didn't feel the same. But the music, sort of having my wife get annoyed if I try to do a mission because her favourite songs come on one of the radio stations, so I'm having to drive around sort of Vice City. But yeah, so look, it's an incredible game. I just, it wasn't.
A lot of people would have gone for San Andreas, though, wouldn't they? I think. There's a preference.
It's probably the better game in terms of the story, and they started introducing more mechanics, didn't they? Like the fitness, you could put on weight.
You can put on weight, and you can,
And it's also a great game, but for me, it's the 80s, it's the neon, it's the music. That's what it was for Vice City. That's why that's got a special place in my heart.
Nice.
What else? Slay the Spire. I had a couple more goes of that. It's just such a fun game, and a game that you can play sort of in half hour. Just
you can pick it up and put it down again. It's a good game. It does get super addictive though. If you if you didn't have Arc Raiders, I'll say it again.
Yeah,
it's going to become my Mass Effect. I think.
Yeah.
You're going to at least for a couple of months.
Oh well, I was going to mention Mass Effect after, but you've kind of done it. So. The one I didn't put on our list, but the one I've got into, I know is one you've mentioned a couple of times. So I've started Vampire Survivors, and again, I think that's going to be once we've played Arc Raiders and got annoyed by Hostile Raiders, I'll play that to wind down for a little bit. But it's really fun. It's really fun again.
It is a great game.
Yeah,
two cracking games you picked up there. I mean, I'm not that fussed about Grand Theft Auto Vice City, but Slay the Spire and Vampire Survivors, I played for absolutely ages. I even pick up Vampire Survivors every now and again and have a go at it. I still think it's a cracking game to run through for. Yeah, like I think the max run is like 30 minutes, but I never survive longer than 15, 20 normally. But it's it's so good.
Yeah, and I love the kind of the 8-bit style graphics to it as well. It's
so simple.
Yeah.
Like the idea behind it as well. It's like the Wordle of video games.
Yeah.
It's just so simple. You just one thing, go around, pick up more things, do more things. I love it.
So, those are what I've been playing. So
they are what you've been playing, yeah.
But mostly, Arc Raiders. So. And again, look, go check out last week's episode. But again, it's me just shouting out, my wife can hear me, Dan, I need those olives. Dan, have you got the lemons? It's just so random. Right, news. It's been a bit of a quiet week news-wise, I think. Normally we've exchanged a load of stories, but it's maybe because you're not looking at anything other than your PlayStation screen.
Maybe.
But it's been a bit quiet, but I picked up a couple of things I want us to talk about. So firstly is, following on from the recent trend, there is a new video game that's getting the TV show treatment, and that is going to be a Baldur's Gate. So coming from HBO, it's going to be a continuation of Baldur's Gate 3. Now, the thing about this one is there's been a bit of a hoo-ha and a furore in that initially the studio, I think Larian have said that they hadn't been approached at all about this.
Weird to own a property and not be approached, but I know it's a D&D thing, but it's weird. Yeah.
But I think, though, I've seen today that apparently one of the showrunners has reached out to the head of the studio, but I don't think it's necessarily for massive involvement, but it looks like there is some conversation. Whether that's a bit of damage control now, I don't know. But yeah, what's your view on having a Baldur's Gate show?
I'm a bit torn on it, to be honest, because the game was so good in the way it allowed that it was explicitly built around choice. You know, you chose how you wanted to play that game, how you wanted to fight, who you wanted to, you know, challenge, who you wanted in your party. You know, the whole thing was built around choice. You're so restricted in a TV show. You have to go on that character's journey that, you know, we've spoken about this before about RPGs and now, you know, creating a character's journey makes that person you've talked about, and I will talk about Mass Effect, that shepherd being your shepherd because that's the way you play him and very personal to you. Having a game like Baldur's Gate, which has infinitely more possibilities than any Mass Effect game, to then try and drive I don't know. I don't think you can I think you can maybe have, what's his name, like Asterion or whatever, appear as, you know, bit parts, but you can't take those characters and make them, you know, you can't drive a narrative for those characters in that TV show. I think it has to be something of its own. I think that's the only way it could work. I genuinely do. Or it's going to be the start of you know, we've had a real good upward trend of TV, of you know, Fallout, Last of Us, all these TV shows based on games that are really good. I worry that it's going to be the start of a downward trend because who is it? Is it HBO?
Yeah.
I mean, they did throw money at shit, didn't they? But then look what they did with the end of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, let's not look at what they did at the end.
Or House of Dragon, where you spend 2 series waiting for a fight that never happens. You know, will Baldur's Gate be that? You know, are you defending the Grove for 2 seasons and nothing happens? I don't know.
I've not played Baldur's Gate 3, but what I'm wondering is, so I think Mass Effect can get away with it. I think God of War can get away with it. I think where people maybe that aren't knowledgeable of the game, could this be a perfect like fantasy adventure type show?
That's what I mean, but it has to be set. It has to be set in and around that, you know, in and around Baldur's Gate with characters that aren't explicitly, or even background characters. There's plenty of them from the actual game. You know, Mass Effect, they've already said it's going to be a side story in parallel to Shepard's. It's not going to be Shepard's story. So that's fine. God of War, I think, is going to be a direct translation with added bits, a bit like Last of Us has done, you know, and let's be honest, how many people are going to really know the God of War story? And you've said yourself, the 2 games you played, the stories and the narrative in this is phenomenal. So you can almost directly translate that. And the characters they've cast today, they've just cast Atreus. So, you know, they've definitely, you know, they're going with that direct translation of story. I don't know, Dan. I'm worried for it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, for me, I've not seen the second season. Like Last of Us, I thought worked really well because whilst it's a video game translation into screen, it's at its heart, it's a relationship between Joel and Ellie, isn't it? Which is a relationship. It's a story about emotion, isn't it? I think the first
and it was a game built around a story rather than a story applied to a game mechanic.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, I saw today, again, I can't remember who it is. It may be from Bethesda, but they said, look, the reason why we've not had, with all this bandwagon going, an Elder Scrolls game is they said, well, because you've got like Lord of the Rings. It's already there, you know, it's not going to do anything different. So
Tolkien nailed it years before we came along.
I hope we just, like we're saying, I hope we don't get right. We're going to convert every IP now into a TV show because that's what seems to be the flavour.
You've had, many Dungeons and Dragons properties, like screen properties. You've had the 80s cartoon series, which was brilliant, but it was brilliant when you were a kid, you know, with the little unicorn and the dungeon with the, you know, and then you've had the most recent one with Chris Pine in it, which was actually an enjoyable movie, you know, and I really enjoyed that. But I don't know. They'd have to do something very clever and special with it to make this work. Yeah. That's my view.
And I guess in maybe 5 years we'll find out.
HBO don't mind dragging their heels creating stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, so, keep an eye out for more news on Baldur's Gate, the TV show. The next story I had is we're going to go back to another favourite of ours in this pod. We're going to go back to Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And it's won more awards, but this time probably the highest award it can win. And that is whereby France has given 28 of the developers a knighthood and says video games have reached a new level of recognition. So in a ceremony this week, the developers were made Knights of the Order of Arts and Letters, which kind of feels fitting for that game as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
You think about
Should
it.
have been the Painters Guild,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. And this was an honour previously bestowed on Legend of Zelda producer Eiji Aonuma, Super Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto, and Rayman designer Michel Ancel. Now, it's a decoration that was established in the 50s to recognise significant contribution to the arts. And the French Minister of Culture, Rachida Dati, said the 28 members of SAMFL had been awarded the decoration because the Ministry of Culture wished to distinguish today was not an individual journey, but the brilliant success of a collective. I mean, again, you know, it's
I think it's great
for them. Yeah,
it's great. That game did barnstormers, and not everyone's got the opinion that it was, you know, it deserved all the success it had, and even I didn't until I played it thoroughly. But you know, recognition where it's due. Right, those guys did a cracking job. They created an amazing game. That game got all sorts of recognition all around the world for all sorts of reasons. Game of the year several times over. I can have it. Yeah, why not?
And it really has, because it was so, the game was so synonymous with France and being French that, you know, the government has taken note and has given like their highest honour. I mean, it's a feel good story, whether you like the game or not. At least everything. If you think about what we've talked about in recent weeks, it's a great story to have on.
Video gamers, people with a passion for video games and creating video games, got awarded that.
Yeah,
right.
And we should
not
be encouraging
movie directors,
this.
Not politicians, not you know, fucking good on them.
Yeah,
good on them. Recognition that video games do good stuff.
Yeah. And look, there is something, I've not put it on the list, so I've not told you about this. I saw an article literally about half hour before we start recording, and it reminded me of another story. This is where the Mass Effect comes in. This is the sort of stuff I love finding out about. So this was leading with Gordon Freeman. So this is for you as well.
Oh, I'm in. Come on, keep going.
But this was about the shortcuts, possibly in the past, that developers have taken when making guns. So the Mass Effect reference is not so much in the Legendary Edition because that got corrected, but in the original game, it transpired that when you were running in the Citadel, you weren't actually running. They were changing the field of view to make it look like you were running. That's because they couldn't load in the level fast enough, so they just made it look like you were running. And this thing, I love these little tricks. So this article I found today was like, in Halo 1, the developers swapped out the Warthog tire textures for a blurry one when they were spinning fast. So it wasn't actually sort of motion. They just swapped it out for a static one to a blurry one.
Nice.
What was the Half-Life one? I'm just trying to find. It might have been in Half-Life. There was a room where there was a reflection of it in salt water, but it wasn't a real reflection. What they did, they just mirrored the room upside down and just changed the lucidity of it. So I love these kind of stories about cheat ways of achieving effects. So yeah.
Crazy thing is now with like the Unreal Engine 5 and all this thing, none of this is necessary anymore. I don't need to cut corners, do shortcuts, because these things are so stupidly powerful, hence the size of the games that you can download, 200 gig, 300 gig games. So.
Yeah. This is it. So I found it. There's a classic fake reflection from Half-Life Blue Shift where it's just the same room under a glass floor, inverted to give the appearance of a sleek, reflective floor. Nice. The other one was in the game Robo Recall. There was no shadow on the ceiling. It's not a shadow. It's not even a light function or a decal. It's a rotating translucent mesh. So
I know Robo Recall.
If you know more of these sort of things, let us know, because I love this sort of stuff. It's just
we'll do a podcast about it.
Yeah. There's I can't because it's just hit me now. There was a YouTube series, an account where they would break the boundaries of a game. So you could see like the assets being stored somewhere in like the sky or underneath. And it was great to break the boundaries of a game and see how the developers are actually loading in sort of
they do it quite famously in Fallout, don't they? There's that room, the developers room, where you can break into, and it's got like all of the loads of assets from the game and weapons and things like that that were put in there. And then I can't remember, it was Fallout 3, I think. But people found all this stuff. There was definitely an episode in there.
Yeah,
I've only got the one bit of news this week, Dan. And do you want to hear the latest from Valve? I know you're keen. Do you want to hear the latest from Valve?
I would love to hear the latest from Valve.
So AMD last week, later in the week of last week, kind of on one of their earning calls, just kind of said, "Well, don't worry, everything's okay and sunshine and roses," because Valve are still launching their machine in early quarter of this year. So it's fine. AMD's happy. People are still getting the hardware they want. The following days, Valve put out one of their blogs, and I will quote this verbatim. It's not bad news, but it's essentially the question was, when will the Steam machine, the frame, and the Steam controller be launching, and how much will they cost? So what they've said is, when we announced these products in November, we planned on being able to share specific pricing and launch dates by now, but the memory and storage shortages you've likely heard about across the industry have rapidly increased since then. The limited availability and growing prices of these critical components mean we must revisit our exact shipping schedule and pricing, especially around Steam Machine and Steam Frame. Our goal of shipping all three products in the first half of the year has not changed, but we have work to do to land on concrete pricing and launch dates that we can confidently announce. Being mindful of how quickly the circumstances around both of these things can change, we will keep you updated as much as we can as we finalise those plans as soon as possible. So it's gone from early 2026, clearly, because that is what they said when they initially announced them, to now being the first half of the year. Though, bit of a shift of 3 months. Okay, fine. So clearly they are, as we suspected, being heavily impacted by RAM prices, and storage shortages and all the sorts of things that we talk about weekly on the show. So not great news, not terrible news, but not great news. I do worry, and as I know you do, that this is going to mean, how available are these things going to be at launch? How viable is it going to be to get hold of one of these? Because I can see the scalpers coming over the hills from a mile off. Now, if they're only selling through Steam, we might have a shot. Because, I suspect they can quite easily clamp down on some of the scalping. But it worries me, Dan. It worries me.
See, the shift to first half of 2026, I'm not too concerned about. I'm concerned about the price. I'm concerned about the price. And I tell you now, right, if Ramageddon has cost me a Steam machine, there'll be certainly some gaming views coming out on an episode here.
And they will be your views.
Yeah. Look, I'm prepared. I'm always of the belief that I won't be lucky to get one in the first round, because there's going to be so many people going for it. I do just worry what it means for pricing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, this is for a set of hardware that's ready to come out. So what does this mean for Sony, Microsoft, et al., who are planning or maybe halfway through designing, or maybe almost towards the end of their design phase for the next set of hardware? I mean, this is affecting Valve now.
Yeah.
We've said before, we can't see it getting better till, 27, potentially middle of 27. So are we going to see massive delays, on hardware?
No, potentially. I mean, talking about hardware, there's been a couple of bits this week. Microsoft, there's been a lot of buzz around Microsoft, the will they, won't they launch for 27 type thing. And that's because of a lot of the comments, again, from AMD and from Microsoft's, one of the people at Microsoft, I can't remember who it was. But it's been contested. An insider has come forward recently, and might have only been today, and basically said, well, it's not quite true. They're still kind of working out what that might be. But weirdly, it's got nothing to do with the RAM and the memory shortages, because they've already positioned it as a premium machine. What he was saying was actually it all depends on the state of the Windows development that they've been doing to make it this, like you have on the Asus ROG, this single pane of glass for Xbox. So it was actually more dependent on whether the development of that is up to snuff and whether it's working, which is what we said. When I got the ROG, I said I think it's a bit of a test bed for what this might become, albeit in a handheld format.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of another one that is, and then to go alongside that on the Xbox side of things, I did have another bit of news. Our favourite person, Tim Sweeney, here of Epic Games, has come up and said that the Epic Store is going to launch day one on the new Xbox.
Oh, is it? Oh, I've missed it.
They're already building it, and it's going to be a day one launch. So it is definitely going to be that combined format machine that does not just Game Pass, Steam, Epic, good old games, whatever people are going to stick on there is going to go on there. So, which was another interesting point from this week. So, yeah, there is a bit of news, just not,
going to be interesting to see how that pans out then. Because, it's just them then that have declared, hasn't it? We've not heard anything else about the other platforms. Yeah.
But you can guarantee they will. Steam's already compatible with the ROG. You can load into Steam. You can see your catalogue in Game Pass. It's all part and parcel.
But look, on the Steam machine, if anyone from Valve is listening or friends and family, we are two massive fans of the hardware here. Go back to November where Dan did an episode on Steam with Joe from the Game Club Pod. Just saying, big fans here. when the pre-orders come round, just saying.
Yeah, don't forget us. I don't want freebies. Just let us get on the list.
I don't say that. You could have.
Oh, sorry.
We don't mind them. We don't.
Not a sponsor, could be.
Yeah. All right, look, let's move. Oh, sorry, did you have any other bits of news?
No, I've exhausted them all, Dan. That was everything. The amount of my knowledge, unless you want to talk a bit more about Arc Raiders.
I was going to say, well, we are going to as part of this. I can feel it. So my battle is to keep you in
promise
in
to
line.
behave. I promise to behave.
Right. Look, so I wanted to talk a little bit about live service video games. So partly because of the Arc Raiders and the love we've got for it, partly because live service video games have got a checkered history, right? There's been some absolutely fantastic games that have been beloved, and then you've got the ones that clearly hit the news and sort of almost dead on arrival, right?
Yeah.
What was the one recent? Concord, wasn't it?
Concord, yes.
Concord
notorious Concord.
So I wanted just to take a look at the history, some of the games, maybe look at why some have failed, why some have succeeded. We'll talk about some of the big ones. Want you to obviously chip in and say ones you've played, because I've said I've not necessarily been a huge player with this.
But I played a few, but nothing that's grabbed me.
But what I saw as part of this, and we'll come into it, is that the bleed-in effect of some of the elements into single-player games as well. And so whilst I'm framing this as live service video games...
Oh, God, I hope you include Warner Brothers in this.
Well, we're going to talk about... I'm sure we're going to have some MMORPGs and we're going to have some single-player games.
Okay.
So, whilst I'm focusing it as... or framing it as a live service video game discussion, it's going to branch like we always do, right? So,
fun. Go for it.
I thought, great to say, what is a live service game? So, at its simplest, it's a game that's designed to be played, updated, and more importantly, monetized, right? Over time.
Yeah. That's the key word there.
Yeah.
Monetized.
So, I wanted to look at the timeline of games, the history. Now, I was a bit surprised at this. So the timeline I found starts in the 70s, basically. So the conceptual roots. So remember, have this in mind when I'm talking about it. It's the conceptual roots of live service video games. So in 1978, you had MUD 1, so MUD, so that's a multi-user dungeon. And I was thinking, you've talked about this before, haven't you?
We spoke about this for a while actually on our online gaming episode, which I will put up in the thing.
And if you like, follow, subscribe, you make sure you see all that.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
MUD.
Yeah. Developed 1978 in the University of Essex. it was classed as the first real multiplayer online role-playing game, one of the earliest virtual worlds. The odd thing being that it was totally text-based, right? So you could log in, explore, interact, play together in the same world. So you can see there. It's still about. Yeah?
Yeah, Mud's still about, yeah.
We should get someone who's playing it. If you're playing it, let us know. It's, it's a persistent world. You had player accounts, admin run updates. And so it was very much as it was described as a proto live service because it was run on university servers. So if we look at games like Ultima Online, EverQuest, World of Warcraft, RuneScape, you can see that it's not too many sort of steps from Mud to those, right? So it's incredible, isn't it, that we think of this as a fairly modern innovation, but we're going back, almost 50 years now.
Yeah, even then people were thinking about it.
Yeah, but there was no money.
Maybe not monetized
they were too naive back then.
They were smart, they weren't that smart.
well, I would say naive, yeah.
yeah, fair enough.
So we then moved to the 80s where you then started to get online services. So CompuServe. Oh, do you remember CompuServe?
I remember CompuServe. Yeah, all of these actually.
Our friend that we mentioned before, AOL, America Online.
America Online.
Plato. Yep. I don't really recall that one, but
I don't think that was a UK one, was it?
Probably not. We had definitely had CompuServe and AOL. I remember, getting my CD from the telephone company at the time.
Yeah, get it in a little envelope.
Yeah, cardboard.
Pop your CD in, connect it, Connect up using your modem, Dan.
Yeah.
God.
Horrible news later that everyone...
We're really old.
Yeah. I totally lost track. I was going to go off on a retro rant then. So games, because of that, games were then hosted and updated centrally. But more importantly, this was where we started to see subscription or hourly fees come in. So
hourly fees, Dan.
But what we, I think a differentiation here is the games weren't monetized like today, but it was the mindset of paying to be online. Because I think back in those days, because it was over the telephone line, right? So
it was a privilege, wasn't it? To be online, in the early days, everyone takes it for granted now. If you're not online, that's it. You're off the grid. And everyone has to be online on their phones, but then it didn't exist.
And I swear that everyone probably our age who lived sort of growing up on, or the introduction of the modem, the dial-up, the first telephone bill that came through, I'm sure your parents, they wouldn't have been happy because they weren't happy with me, I'll tell you.
No, they would not. It was not cheap. No. It was,
Moving on. Right. So look, again, this is just to say that there's a recency bias and we think that innovation really happens lately, but the foundations of our favorite games and even your favorite game, Dan, at the moment kind of stems back to 1978.
Yeah, I would not want to be paying hourly for Alt Raiders right now, Dan. Or by the minute for the phone call. I would, I'd be, I'd probably have my house repossessed very shortly. Everything taken off me because you don't own anything anymore. I'd have to sell my Lego. No, I wouldn't want to do that.
I don't, you can't sell the Lego.
No, I can't, but I'd have to.
Mind you,
that's how much I've been playing it.
To be fair, that would set you up for probably about a decent subscription.
That's my pension, so I keep telling the wife.
But and look, and this is it is a valid and interesting point that we do talk, and people do talk about the cost of gaming now and subscription fees. Yeah. But back in the day, you were paying just to be online.
Just to play online.
Per minute, per hour. So we then move on to the 90s, right? And this is where the MMORPG really came in. And the key takeaway here was this is when we started to get the idea of subscription-based services. Yeah. So we had a couple that probably, I'm sure people listening must have played. If not, and it'd be interesting to find out from you. So we had the big one. So in 91, you had Neverwinter Nights. That was the first graphical MMORPG. Monthly fees, GM run events, updates. You had in 1997 Ultima Online, which we've mentioned a couple of times, which again, persistent world, regular patches, player-driven economy, moderation. But then probably the first real biggie, 99, was EverQuest. So again, expansions, subscriptions, and it formalized the idea of content drops.
Yeah.
So the 90s saw the pay monthly, devs keeping you hooked by updating the game constantly. So have you? So you said no to the first two, so not exposure.
None of those grabbed me. And it wasn't until 5 years later that I got absolutely hooked.
Well,
yeah.
Well, let's move on to that. So the early 2000s, you then had the idea coming of the hybrid live service. So expansion packs and online consoles helped propel those. So 2001, you've got Xbox Live launches, which also we've discussed before. Go check that out. It's an important moment in console history, let alone gaming. Yep. But yeah, 2004 World of Warcraft. So refined the MMO live service loop, expansions, content patches became the gold standard for these games. So Dan, talk to us again.
That game in a very similar way to what I'm experiencing now. Not me for absolute six. It was a different experience. Like I think it's one of those few games where I genuinely forgot to eat and drink. You know, like when you're playing it. I'd always been a fan of Blizzard. I'd always played Spacecraft and Warcraft and things like that. StarCraft, Warcraft, and played those games. But then to translate that into something where you're essentially running around an open world with, you know, attacking other players, Horde or the Guild, or, you know, and you feel part of something bigger. And it was just a revelation, you know, just running around and doing simple shit like mining stuff. You know, it became a lot of farming runs. It became a lot of grinding, you know, but then when they introduced raids and you're going in with other people on a very janky, you know, communication type service that you're using at the time. And it just, I don't know, it just became this whole, you know, things like, you know, the phrases like, are you going in as a tank? And people were like, you know, none of that really existed before. And the first time you hear it, like, what do you mean? And you're like, well, you're just going in as someone that can take a load of damage and deal a load of damage, right? Oh, yeah. Or a glass cannon. And you're like, what's that? Well, you're going to stand at the back and launch super powerful spells, but if anyone touches you, you're going to fall. You know, all of these things, like this whole expanse of gaming creativity and even vocabulary, leet speak jumped off the page from World of Warcraft. You know, it just became this phenomenon. And I was caught up in it. A friend of mine introduced me to it and he was like, have you played it? And I was like, no, you know, because I knew they were making it. I was like, no, I haven't played it. And he was like, you got to play it. One session and I was in deep. And I was in early enough where I experienced the horrendous server time queuing up for, you know, to get online. You know, you were sometimes launching it, having to go and cook some dinner and then you can come back and you might be able to play. And then, you know, when the updates were announced, and I think I've said before, I think when Lich King came out, I think that's when I kind of fell out of it, love with it. Went on to other stuff or had kids or had more kids, whatever. But, you know, it was a huge phenomenon and everything they introduced just felt fresh and new. And, you know, Leroy Jenkins. I mean,
well, this is what I was going to say for me. So I hadn't played it. And the only reason being, I think it would have really hit my addictive personality. I think I would have been like you. This would have been right up my alley. But at the time, I think I'd only just got an upgraded PC at the time. And so I wasn't really into the setup. I'd only been in my first house for a couple of years, you know, and I just wasn't necessarily in the mindset of setting that up. But this is my recollection of it. It's the first game for me that feels like it broke that mold of that pop culture into other media. Like, if they were playing a game on TV, they would reference World of Warcraft. Look, outside of the standard Pac-Man, Space Invaders on Mario, which are the classic, you know, the obvious ones. But this was the first almost like niche game that you'd see referenced. Look, the Leroy Jenkins meme, my God, that is hilarious. And a little while ago,
one of the funniest things that ever happened.
I looked at it again. And to some extent, it's some of the stuff that we're talking about, like me sort of taking on that in a different thing, but it's that same mindset that happens with gamers about I've waited too long in these kind of games.
For
I want to
those
go
of you
for
that
it.
haven't seen it, it is essentially so there's a group of players all on a massive raid. And one of them is a chap called Leroy Jenkins. And they're all like priming to go and attack this thing. But with the knowledge that if you attack it at the wrong time, you're just going to get wipes.
And it was very technical, the level of planning,
The
wasn't
whole
it?
level of organisation and what they're going to and what they're talking through and how they're going to do it. And none of this is planned, like in terms of none of the what happens is planned. And in one moment, he just goes, Leroy Jenkins! At this end raid boss and gets everyone wiped. And it's fucking hilarious.
But the funny thing also with that is, so the way he says Leroy Jenkins, and you just know how impatient he's been, right? And he's like, I'm waiting and waiting. And then you hear the panic that sets into his gang.
Just goes nuts.
And you can hear that the planning has descended into chaos. And they're like, right, can we do this? And it's like, they're just sounding really pissed off, but not having a go at him. And then they like, somebody at the end says like, damn it, Leroy. And then he goes,
At least I have chicken.
He's one of the best memes.
Tell you what, I'm gonna
create from a video game ever.
We'll tweet that out. But, and it's like one of the first almost like internet memes and heroes, right? Isn't it? And
totally.
He's
a legend.
Like I said, it was only a few months ago I started watching it again because there was when the internet then really kicked off, you had so many of these sort of funny videos. I mean, look, it's basically TikTok now, right? But it was more sort of all spread out. And yeah, Leroy Jenkins will forever be a hero.
Forever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a darker side of it. There's that whole gold farming and things like that.
Yeah.
And, but there was some horrendous stuff around it, and it just, it all became a bit much. But, as a game, you can't take away what that game did.
It's a lightning in a bottle, wasn't
gaming.
it? Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And still is, I think people forget it's still going and it's still huge. Not as big as it was, but it's still absolutely huge.
But it doesn't have to be as big as it was. The fact if it's still kept alive 22 years later.
Yeah,
and I think this is one, and look, the games you mentioned before, I'm sure did it the same, but this probably is the first game, because I know they did a massive reset a little while ago that constantly was delivering these expansions.
But then they did original World of Warcraft, so you could go back and play it, and it's original. So like it's that old. There's a retro for it, which is mad.
Yeah. So World of Warcraft is probably the gold standard or the benchmark initially that games, that kind of really was the leap or the leap board. Jumping board, diving board for today's games.
Springboard. One
of those, yeah.
Have them all.
Have some of the words and mix them up and make your selection. Yeah,
people have paid enough for that. Yeah. It's free gift. We'll give them all of them.
But in the early 2000s, we also started seeing shooters as well. Again, this probably not me, but I know you've probably got something to say. So you had Counter-Strike, Battlefield, 1942, where there was the patches of servers. So they would have ongoing support, but no monetization or deep monetization yet. Now, I think you were a Counter-Strike player, weren't you?
Yeah, I got super addicted to Counter-Strike and then Team Fortress 2 when that came out. But Counter-Strike was amazing. But again, it was just that hit. And I think it's very similar to Arc Raiders in that, all right, you weren't getting stuff and getting out. There wasn't that dopamine hit and thrill of that. But it was just going into a round with a bunch of other people against others and just, having a scrap. It was mad, and trying to raid or capture a flag or, whatever it was at that time. It was just like that. You love doing it. And I don't know what happened that made me not or made me forget that was super fun and exciting to do. And again, Counter-Strike, I think more so than Team Fortress 2, I very much played with a bunch of friends. So there was always, 3 or 4 of us playing it. And I had one mate in particular who was far more addicted than I was. I mean, he'd be up till 3 a.m. playing almost every night, like insanely. Whereas I'd get to I'd do a couple of hours. I'd be like, oh, I'm done now. I had a bit of a threshold, but he had no threshold. It was like a machine and he just do the same, the same maps or the same. But yeah, it was great. But again, it was more community based. There was no And again, coming from Valve, particularly with Team Fortress 2, you didn't expect it to be heavy monetization. It wasn't about paying them a bunch of money. You had the game, you played it, and there was huge amounts of community support in terms of, creating new maps or creating new items, or, it felt very different to what you get today. That's for sure. But it was brilliant nonetheless.
I think you said a really important word there. Again, back in the day, and not wanting to sound like old personish, but I think you said the word community, and it probably was more of a community then, wasn't it? I mean, look, you get an online forums, etc. now, but it's more about a gathering of gamers playing that game rather than
totally.
Yeah, probably more so. I'm not articulating that well, but I think you get what I mean.
I do. I'll take it.
There you go. No one else will, but I know you do. Right. So late 2000s, this was a free-to-play revolution. So this was where it was like developers starting to get clever, right?
Well,
we'll make the game free to play.
The amount of shit that exists around free to play. Free to play.
Free to play. So
or free to play, whichever.
Now this is where monetization comes in and replaces subscriptions. So you don't have to pay for the game, but they get their money elsewhere, right? So Korea, China led the way. So like the Asian game market. So you had games like MapleStory, Crossfire, microtransactions for cosmetics and boosts, etc. But the big one, and again, not one I've played, but I know is still big on Twitch, etc. 2009, you had League of Legends, which was free to play with updates, seasonal balances, new characters. Then became massive, obviously, in the esports and sort of televised gaming world. So it's, and we'll talk about it, whilst not necessarily always a great move, this was a huge moment in games where games no longer needed subscriptions to survive as live services. So, Dan, let's talk about free to play. I mean, look, for me, this is summarized more or categorized really well by mobile games, when you had a load of those free to play games, but you've got about 5 different systems in game that you need to either wait 125 hours to refill, or you can pay £60 to get like an hour's
unlock
worth.
it now. Go do it now. Yeah, League of Legends. I thank League of Legends for one single thing, and that's for having created the best 2 seasons of a program on Netflix, and that's Arcane, which is just phenomenal. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again: if you haven't watched it, go watch it because it's amazing. But weirdly, I've never played the game. Never been interested in MOBAs and things like that. It's just not my scene. And I am. It sounds really weird as a gaming dad and father of 4 to be the one who refuses to put money into Fortnite or anything else like that for my kids. And because of that monetization loop, I'm like, I don't understand, and I will sound like an old man now, I don't understand the value. And I know we'll talk about Fortnite later, but even to that, I don't think I've ever paid to unlock a feature or to speed up time or whatever it's been on those kind of mobile games, or even console games. I just refuse to do it. I'm not. And it was one of the chaps on TCGS, actually. I think it was Sean on TCGS, who was the computer game show. Go and watch it if you haven't. It's amazing. Podcast. I think Sean was saying in an episode that the way he views it, and it did kind of change my perspective a little bit, is he's kind of like, look, actually, the developers put time and energy into this to creating this game. So, if I chuck them a $5 every now and again, for a cosmetic, or, I actually feel like I'm paying a bit towards it because it's a free to play. I can't remember what game he was talking about. And you kind of like, I hadn't really thought of it. I mean, I doubt that any of that money goes to the actual developer, but I hadn't thought of it that way. And it is quite a nice way to think about it. But I'm still like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm happy to pay a developer 60, 70 quid for a game if the game's worth it, and I'll only find that out if I play it. I'm not going to pay them just for me to be able to play the thing in the first place. I'm a bit of an old man, and there'll be people that disagree with me, and it's fine. I'm happy with that. It's just my point of view.
The thing with free to play is that it trod a fine line. So I think there is a space for it. It's just when it's overly or aggressively monetized, and by that I mean where you can't progress without spending the money. Now look,
when you're in a paywall, and you can't do anything without it.
Look, and some people will say, well, how do you expect the game to survive? Because what we've said is, if you balance it right, there are going to be people that are going to pay for it. That keeps the game going. Now, it's funny you talk about that example from TCGS, because I've had in recent years sort of a similar vibe. So that's why I bought Expedition 33 on Steam. Look, it wasn't as full price as it was on the Xbox, but I said to myself, look, I've enjoyed myself so much of it that I was initially going to look at buying the deluxe edition upgrade just to show support, because I thought, look, I've had so much fun with it. The only game, I guess, free to play where I've put a bit of money in, and again, because of the similar sentiment, was do you remember, and some people remember, the Simpsons Tapped Out game on mobiles? So
I remember the name. I do not remember.
Do you know what
it was?
I got addicted to that, and it's such a random game. So it was almost like a city builder where you would build your Springfield up, so you could build it your own way.
Right, okay.
You would get characters, there would be quests, daily quests, weekly quests, etc. The currency was donuts. You would get seasonal events, so Halloween, Easter, etc., where they would introduce new quest lines, new characters, decorations, and some would be free if you did a grind for it, but obviously you could pay for it, and that was by buying donuts. Now, there was like a handful of times over probably 8 years, because I played it, I think, that long, that I bought some of the currency, like the £2.99 one or £4 one.
Right.
But because I said to myself, look, I've been playing it for 8 years, dropping a few quid for a game I've had that much enjoyment out of isn't an issue. But this is what I'm trying to say. But that wasn't a game that was locking me out of it if I didn't pay that. So there were so many people obviously paying each week because they got addicted to that loop.
Yeah.
But I could happily play with, I might not have had a snowplow Barney or, whatever it was, but I was okay.
Yeah, but that's what you're saying, right? It's just the kind of costume unlocks and things like that. The cosmetic things are kind of like superfluous. It's when it's forcing you to do it in a predatory way. Candy Crush was really guilty of that. I, like you, when I've gone on holiday in the past and stuff, I've played a lot of Candy Crush, because it's easy, it's on your hands. So not anymore, but I used to. But you get to a point where there are certain levels that you cannot complete without having those specials and things like that. Now, of course, you can buy packs of those to do it, or you can wait 12 hours and one will appear in your inventory. And there are some levels you can't win without them. And you're like, well, I'm going to have to wait now 12 hours. And that's how they get you. And people with less willpower, let's be honest, will easily go, oh, well, fuck it, I'll spend, because they don't sell you one and go, here's 50p. They go, you get a pack of 5 for a £5. Yeah. And you go, oh, I spent a £5. And it's so easy to do because it's all connected.
This is literally what I was going to say. It's connected to your account. So you just have to click, I sanction the purchase, and you've got it, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, another one that was super guilty of this, and I didn't play it for the very reason that I was looking forward to it because I love the other games, and we just talked about Blizzard, but Diablo Immortal was super guilty of this. It's got one of the lowest Metacritic review scores of all time, because it's so predatory, but yet on the Apple Store, it's got one of their, it's like 4 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5 because it's an amazing game. And it probably is an amazing game, but it's so geared and heavily geared towards monetization, like things you can't do unless you pay, or you have to wait to do that it got panned. And I'm like, for a Diablo game, like you always wanted to play Diablo on a mobile. And the only way you can now really do it is by being forced to pay money hand over fist every time. I'm sounding like a fucking old man now. I'm sorry, everyone.
Well, they also got in trouble, didn't they? Because the auction house they then introduced in Diablo 3, I think, or maybe even 4 initially. They swiftly had to pull that.
Yeah, they had a lot of problems with auction houses in them and money being paid for things in World of Warcraft as well. Yeah.
So free to play is where I think it got really interesting. It's where they was then testing the waters, you know. So you had the divide between games that did it well and those that said this is just the easy way of printing money, right? And
Yeah.
before we move on, we're talking about, it starts off at like the $1.99, $2.99, but then you were getting packs for like £69, even £99, which you're talking, what's that? That's 2 full price games at that time.
Yeah.
And
Easily to spend.
But people must have been doing it. Or they were appearing in the press and, oh, my kid hacked my phone. And
the number of stories we got about that was hilarious. I mean, not hilarious. I feel sorry for the poor bastards, his kids. Because some parents, unfortunately, aren't technically savvy. And they're like, so they've got their, Game Pass or whatever it is, they've got their card linked to it and they haven't locked it down that needs permissions or whatever. And the kid's just gone, I can keep spending money to buy these coins. Well, fuck, I'll just keep doing it because the kid doesn't understand. They're like 7-year-old. Yeah, little Timmy spent £10,000 on my credit card and I'm just like.
And you see little Timmy and the mother's sad face to the camera.
Yeah, and they won't give me my money back. No, they won't. You've had it. It's gone. He's now got a load of nice outfits, though.
Yeah, right. So, and if you spent a fortune on your parents' credit card bill on gaming bucks, let us know. Right.
Yeah, Turok.
Yeah, it's Turok?
Yeah. Well, they probably named their kid Turok as well.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Is that old age getting to you, mate? You're forgetting the episodes.
Right, we've done so many. Right. So let's move to the mid 2010s, right? So this is where live service really kicks up a gear.
Yes.
And this is what I was saying earlier about almost every genre kind of has a game with it. So you had 2012, you had Warframe. 2014, you get Destiny. 2016, you get Overwatch, which I want to come back to. And then 2017, of course, you've got the big one, Fortnite Battle Royale mode. Now, we've talked about Fortnite a number of times in our episodes, mainly because what they seem to have done well is almost reinvent themselves with these in-game events they do, like especially with bands.
They have.
And I'll be honest with you, if I was playing it, I wish I was playing it for the Daft Punk and the Gorillaz one. So yeah, in this area, you've really seen the concept of seasons and limited time events, roadmaps, which we joked about in our opening, and ultimately mimicking your games like your Warcraft, etc., World of Warcraft, that games that don't really have an end, that you're just constantly playing, right? So what about this batch of games we're looking at? Anything took you there?
I tried to get in. I've tried several times, 3, in fact, that I can remember, get into Warframe. I could not get it. My son, who is nearly 30, plays Warframe and loves it.
Yeah,
like really, and he's really good at it. But it clicked with him. And every time I read an article that goes, they've simplified Warframe for the reinvention this season, and I'm like, oh, great. That sounds, and then you get in and just this whole exposition and a load of currencies, and I'm just, I'm lost again. Destiny, I fucking loved. I loved Destiny.
Yeah,
I went to Gamescom to play it before anyone else at Gamescom, just purely to play Destiny. I queued up for 2.5 hours to play that game, and I loved it when I played it. And it was the opening bit, and it still had Peter Dinklage as the voice of the ghost when I did it. And I absolutely loved Destiny. And then I played Destiny, I played the whole loop several times on the original game, and then Destiny 2 came out, and it was great to begin with. And then again, it just went bonkers. And I was like, you've gone too far, and it's fine because it's not for me, but it's for other people. But you've gone way too far. And I'm like, I now don't understand the game. And because I don't understand the game, I'm going to put it aside for a while. And then every once in a while, I'm like, maybe I'll go back in a bit, and I'll play it, and I enjoy the mechanics, and I enjoy the shooting, and I'm like, but I fucking can't understand that. I can't get into it to keep playing it. And it really, it's stuck in my craw that. I never played Overwatch, and I've played about 3 rounds of Fortnite.
See,
didn't enjoy it.
Destiny was said at the start. So Warframe never touched. Destiny, I enjoyed it for what it was at the start, but then, like I said, I think it was more that I was playing it with you at the time, and it was just that jumping on with someone. But and again, this is my view of it. It felt like it then almost was pushing the story too far. It almost felt like if you wanted to join in late, it was difficult to, because there were so many packs, there's so many releases, and it almost felt like
bonkers.
Well, yeah, it just felt like as someone who hadn't played it for long, that I don't want to start there because it feels like I've got to get invested, or I might not even be able to. So that's probably on me, but that's also maybe how they've marketed the game, or they've not done a good job potentially of marketing the game, because they released a second one, right? And
yeah,
you know,
and it was good. It was good to start with, and then all of a sudden it became this. You know, they had these Christmas events, but then or Halloween events, or you know, not so much the expansions, because they were more story based things. And you know, I kind of got some, and I did continue playing it a bit, particularly into the second Destiny. But then I just got really confused with a lot of the stuff, and it felt if you weren't on the crest of that wave, you were so far behind that you couldn't catch up. And that's how I felt, particularly with Destiny. Yeah. I never felt able to catch up with other people and how they were playing. And what's lovely about watching my daughter, who's 12, play Fortnite is the freedom that she feels, or that I see her feeling playing that game. Because if I'm playing it, I'm going, but I need to do this, and I must get that. She just runs around going, I'm doing I can't remember what the event's called. It's the battle royale mode with the shrinking island and the storm and stuff. But it's like a shorter version of it. They're shorter time span, like 5 minutes. And I just see her just go in. She'll go, I just kill this guy and just grab his loot. I'm just going to go and do this. Use this jetpack to get there. There's a beauty to it. Whereas I'm in there frustrated by it. Like, I go down and do this, and I'm supposed to do that quest, and what am I going to, and I'm just like, why is there a fucking Avenger over there and Lady Gaga over there? I'm just getting confused by the whole thing. I'm like, I don't understand it.
Now you're sounding like an old man. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Overwatch, I did play for a little bit and I enjoyed it. It was kind of fresh in the sense of the look. It was very cartoony. It was very straightforward. I think the character was called Mercy. So it was a support. It was a medic.
Sounds like a very medic type character.
Yeah.
Mercy.
Yeah. So I was sort of hanging back and I was basically reviving everyone. That was my job. And I was good at that, because I think this was getting to the point where I was slowly starting to lose my reactions and stuff.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. But again, it was more of it was fun for a bit.
Yeah.
But then didn't grab me because, you know, obviously I've not played it probably since 2018, right? Or 2016. Yeah. And even then, they released a second game, but it didn't do well. So I think they've kind of merged it all back into the one game. The interesting thing I've seen about this, though, is I saw an article, again, literally just before we come on, that in recent weeks, the numbers have gone up on this again. I'm not sure why. But yeah, the concurrent numbers have been rising again, which is interesting.
It's Overwatch, it's like a...
It's a hero one, isn't it?
Well, they're hero shooters, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. There's what's the other one your mate Peter Pete plays?
Apex.
Apex Legends.
Well, he's now Arc Raider. So Pete, remember to drop us a note about being our third. Yeah.
Oh yes, come in for a trio. Yeah, I can't wait to get murked by another trio. Yeah. No, I'm joking. It'd be great. Apex Legends. Yeah, there's a bunch of them that came out at a similar time, weren't there? Yeah. And it became the thing that everyone had to do to build a live service game.
And Fortnite. I think I've downloaded it. I think I tried the game and then I think I uninstalled it. But for me, if you talk about seasons and events, I think of Fortnite, and I think that's what they've really done well.
It's fucking huge, that game. It's like, even size-wise, downloadable size, it's massive. Yeah. My daughter was downloading it. I was like, I don't know if I've got enough space on my hard drive for it.
Right? All those skins. All
that content, gorillas take up loads of space, mate. That's what it is.
Yeah, right. So we then start moving late 2010s and the 2020s. So the early 2020s is probably where it started getting a bit oversaturated. Greedy, oversaturated.
Greedy is where it got, Dan.
So live service almost feels like it's becoming the default, and you've got the big publishers, so Ubisoft, EA, Activision, Square Enix, all getting in on it.
Warner Brothers. Yeah, you forgot Warner Brothers. I am not happy with those people.
Well, we'll go into that shortly. So, and this is what I was saying at the start. So, even single player games, and what I mean by that, so the daily challenges, the cosmetic stores, the always online requirements, and look, whilst it's maybe not as massive in in single player games, it just shows that companies are saying, right, how can we now, we're making money from this. Now let's stop putting it into the thing that for years has evaded that.
That game fucking ruined Avengers. That game could have been something amazing. And it turned it into cruft. There's no word for it. It's just a load of churn shite. And because it was like, oh, we're introducing Spider-Man now. And you're like, you can have him if you buy this battle pass or if you do this, or, it might eventually be released for free, but it's probably unlikely. I'm like, nobody wants that from an Avengers game, dude. Like, you are targeting the wrong market, and it died a death because of it. Anthem was a whole different story. I mean, it looked, when they first showed it, it looked amazing and what you should have been able to do from day one. And then it launched and you were like, this isn't the game you showed, is it? It's not the same thing. I mean, it had similarities, but it wasn't there. It was like Anthem Diet Coke Light. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was like, it's not quite the full fat sugar version, is it? Which was a shame, because I enjoyed the thought of flying around in an Iron Man suit, upgrading it, finding new parts, getting, that all sounded really cool. And then it just became, again, an excuse for churn. Yeah. Fight the same enemies, do the same fetch quests, do this. And that's what all these things eventually become. Avengers was the same. Babylon's Fall, I never played, but I imagined it was the same thing. What was the other one? Oh, anything that Warner Brothers released in the last 3 years. Like the the damage they did to the Arkham series. Yeah. Like we killed the Justice League.
I was going to mention that.
What was that other shitty Batman and Robin? Not Batman and Robin.
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knight. Yeah. Like, fuck. See, to take one of the best superhero games. Batman's not a superhero, yes, I know. But one of the best hero games ever, and do that to it in two swoops. Like, what the?
See, why? I had so you've mentioned them. So a couple of the big games here that failed, which shows the risks that sort of greed doesn't necessarily, or the live service doesn't pay off. You said Anthem, never played it. There was one I found. It was
you not play Anthem?
No. I thought you played Anthem.
No,
just wasn't interested. Babylon's Fall was one I found. It's a Platinum Games one, which, and again, it just seemed to be victim of it just not being interesting enough, which is for me what Marvel's Avengers was. Now, I think Marvel's Avengers fell foul of two things. One, it was almost one of the biggest rug pulls because the opening section to that game was great.
Brilliant. This Marvel,
yeah, brilliant game. And then it becomes this like grind crunching monetized.
Go to this same looking map as the last same looking map. Go to this same looking place to fight this same looking enemies, and you're like, really? Is this it?
Yeah. And for me, what it did something that was unforgivable for an Avengers game. It was boring, ultimately, for me.
Right. I mean, all right. Not all of the Marvel movies are A-class, right? Some of them are pretty shit, to be fair. But they're pulling from this plethora, and there are lots of copyright and licensing things, and I get all of that. But they're pulling from this vast catalogue of insane heroes, villains, enemies, friends, foes. How can you not? How can you create a game about all of that and go, fucking boring, isn't it? It's nigh on impossible.
Yeah.
I'm just... Do you know, I'm genuinely gobsmacked how fucking dull that game was. And it was taken from one of the, most explosive universes created in terms of creativity, and go, it's dull.
Yeah.
And then monetize it.
That's criminal to me, making Avengers boring. But yeah, so we then move into 2020s itself. And
just one more thing.
Yeah.
What's worse, Dan, is not that is all horrible and shit. What makes it worse is no one will fucking try it again. And I don't mean the live service bit. No one's even going to try and make a really good Avengers game because they saw that fall flat on its arse.
Yeah.
And that's the travesty.
Yeah.
Because there are people making pockets of things. You know, you've got the new Black Panther, Captain America game coming out. Apparently, allegedly, there's a Blade game coming out. You've got Marvel's Wolverine and Spider-Man in their own right, amazing games. But I mean an Avengers game, like with the catalogue to pull from, and that, you know, I just hope a studio with the chops has the balls to go, do you know what, we'll have a go. Yeah. Someone like Insomniac and go, Joe, we can do this.
Yeah, wait and see. I mean, as we move into the 2020s, the service or the games as a live service is proved that it's not that it can't work. It just needs to be refined and it needs to be thought of. And so we've had a number of successes. You've got Final Fantasy 14. One that I've not played, but I know recently launched on the Xbox. Well, I say recently, a few months back. You've got Genshin Impact. You mentioned a little while ago Apex Legends, which became massive, and of course Helldivers 2. Now, because we were going to do sort of an episode like this a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't mentioned Arc Raiders on there, but of course, you know, Arc Raiders. Now, it just shows that it's not that the game as a service is not viable. It's just, you've got to think about it. And look, the companies have got to make money, right? And that's what keeps gamers in it, and people that don't necessarily spend money, you want to keep them in it.
Yeah.
But you have to think about it, and it can't just be all right, how do we get the money out of them and think of the game second? I mean, to me, look at Arc Raiders. What we said about that is that core loop is perfect. And that's what keeps you coming back. Now, at the moment, that isn't, well, we've not had to spend, other than the game, we've not had to spend any money. Now, I think there's cosmetics, and we were saying earlier, maybe down the line they will do. But right now, it's a viable game without paying. So, yeah, it's all about putting that thought in to make a good game, and then you might coax money out of people.
Yeah, and I think Helldivers was a similar story for me. Going into Helldivers and being a year late to that party, it was still accessible. It wasn't insanely difficult to get your head around how things worked in terms of the monetization side, because, you know, the battle pass, I can't remember what they're called in Helldivers, but you know, where you can unlock things by just continue learning points through the game, seemed to flow really nicely. It didn't seem onerous to try and earn some of those things to unlock, you know, cosmetics or weapons, or it was a bit of a drag, you know, but it was nice that we had someone like Joey along who was going, yeah, I'll drop a mech for you because he'd earned that already and things like, you know, so it was nice to get that, you know. Had I not had that as we went into it, because I said I played a couple of missions when I bought it and got bored to hell playing on my own. So there was that side of it, playing with someone as well. Yeah, so Helldivers and certainly Arc Raiders very much have that in common for me, that the monetization is not in your face. If you want to go and buy a pack and spend hundreds of dollars or tens of dollars, that's entirely up to you, and more power to you, right? That's what you want to do. It's a great way to reward the devs, you know, to keep that game going. And yeah, it might be the first ever game that if something interesting does happen, maybe I'll do that, because it will keep the game going for those people who want to invest in it. And maybe I will, you know, if I'm still here a year later, we'll have this conversation. I might have done that. But what I mean is not directly in your face going, I'm sorry, you can't play anymore because you haven't paid to do that. You know, I can go and do Stella Montis. I can go and do Bluegate and not feel underpowered doing it because I haven't paid to win. Yeah. And that's what grinds my gears, is when you have to pay to win. You have to pay to keep up, to be with the other players who are playing it. And the people who are paying money are doing so much better than you. Yeah. And so that was it really for the timeline. So there's a few other areas I wanted to talk about. So I mentioned before about how it kind of enters the single player sphere again. So, you know, whilst not always necessarily monetized, you know, you start looking and thinking, is it a way of priming single players to move into the monetized world? So we've said there's always online requirements, not necessarily always needed for single player games, right? But it's a way, you know, you could potentially get data collection, etc. How people playing the games, and, you know, what are they looking at in
customizations, etc. So you then moved into time limited content in a solo game, which again I think just feels wrong. So you've got daily, weekly challenges, rotating missions, seasonal wars. So you've got Hitman would do that. Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla. I can't say I've experienced that because I didn't sort of go anywhere near that, but apparently they had these events. Forza Horizon seasonal playlists, and as I said, it's that fear of missing out and wanting to get everything right, and it's that Pokemon thing, right? Got to catch them all, right? It's that slow, insidious creeping in of behavior, or behavior encouragement in gamers.
Yeah,
you've then got again, we joked about it at the start, but the post-launch roadmaps for single-player games, and how often do they actually pan out, right?
I mean, I just said there's probably about a 50-60% success rate in terms of companies have achieved what they wanted to achieve in a roadmap. And every fucking game is doing it. Right. You know, I mean, it's like Borderlands did it recently, but they've done it. I think they've done it since maybe number 3, maybe even number 2. They've had a roadmap. We'll introduce new characters. We'll do this thing. And if you've bought, it's another sneaky way of doing it. If you've bought the DLC pack, you know, you'll get this character later. We'll do this thing later, or you can then, but it works for them, right? Because people pay up front for the limited edition or special edition with the DLC as part of it, or the battle pass as it is now as part of it. And so, you know, you're looped into that already. But those who haven't, and like you say, feel like, you know, they get FOMO. Like, oh, that character looks really cool. Oh, no, I'm going to have to go and buy that now. And so they go and buy it. And look, it works for them. It's just not my bag, man.
And again, look, you know, extra content, more content, we're not saying it is necessarily bad, but it's that making what was a single player, self-contained game. It's starting to turn that into, it's almost like the gateway drug into tempting you into service games, right? Because it's stretching out the content.
But you talked about that evolution, and Art Creators is a great example of that, because we both clearly said it's a viable game, single player. It's a viable single player solo game. You can do it quite easily, aggressively, non-aggressively, you know, whatever you want to play. But no one is charging me to go to a new map. And they've released 2 maps. I think Blue Gate and Stellar since launch.
Yeah.
They're not charging for those. Yeah, there's a community effort to unlock them, to do certain things, to get the achievement, you know, to achieve those things. But they're not saying, but you have to pay on the battle pass. You can only get it if you pay me an extra $10, or, you know, it's, and Helldivers is the same. The amount of content that game's churned out over the, you know, year and a half, 2 years or whatever it's been out. It's been phenomenal, and they keep going, and they listen to the community as well. So there it is again, that community feel, I think, is coming back in certain respects. All right. You're not modding the games, but you do feel like you're part of a bigger thing. Contributing to it, whether it's a war effort or war bonds, or, you know, you feel like you're part of a community with it.
Yeah, and I think it's key to say that, look, it's we're not saying necessarily this is all bad, and there are some games that have done it well and have given content, like some of the examples are which are free. I remember that, you know, it was some minor content drops, but it was still free. I think it was it The Witcher 2 where they guaranteed like 15 bits of free content.
Yes, it was on, I can't remember which.
Baldur's Gate 3 has done well at patching, it's reactive patching. No Man's Sky, obviously we've discussed that a number of times, but how it released to where it is now without pressure of monetization. But it's, I guess what we're saying is there's a difference between games where it's that we want you to spend our money, whereas other games encourage you through a good game or a good experience.
Yeah, through a great experience. Yeah, totally.
So let's have a look at, you know, and this is not sort of reveling in failure, but we've mentioned some of the ones that have done well, but it's like, why, you know, what are some of the ones that fail and why do they fail? So I think some of the key reasons of being is, it's about underestimating the cost of it, right? So, you know, live service.
I think it's not just cost. I think there's this perception that, don't worry, gamers will pay for any old shit.
Yeah.
And you know, so they're kind of like, well, if we just make it, if we say it's a live service game and then we throw it out there, you know, look at how well Helldivers did, or look at how well Apex Legends did, or, you know, don't worry, and they'll do it. And unfortunately going into it, but gamers are so fucking fickle. Like, as a community, individually, we are super fickle. You bring us together and we're in tribes. Do you know what I mean? That's how this thing works. I haven't read enough to know about what went wrong with Concord, because the minute that video was shown, people were like, oh, it's just Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't it? As a video game. I'm not sure if I want that, because there was a Guardians of the Galaxy video game and that was all right, and it wasn't a live service game. And it just, I mean, it felt like it wasn't even given time to breathe before they shut the thing down.
I think that's the problem with it is, you know, it didn't do so well. So the only thing I've got on Concord, so it had a development budget of around $200 million. Initially only sold around 25,000 copies across Steam and PlayStation.
Yeah.
Look, peak concurrent players on Steam was under 700 at launch, and it was removed from sale and support just 2 weeks after release with refunds offered. Now, it's probably a case of saying, right, look, we've just got to cut our costs, because the money they're probably spending on maintaining the servers, etc.
Those numbers, though, don't add up. It sold 25,000 copies across 2 platforms, right? And you could argue that PlayStation might have been slightly bigger than Steam, or vice versa. But the total concurrent players at any one time was only 700.
Well, on Steam at launch.
All right, on Steam at
bear in
launch.
mind, it was only 2 weeks. It was pulled 2 weeks after release. So I think you're right. I think there's an argument that
weird, isn't it?
Wasn't given enough time. But also, maybe if it just wasn't right, if it's not grabbing you, you're not going to play it, right?
You have to, and I think this is key. The games that do well, and I'm sure you've got a list of those, have something very special or unique about them that make people want to get into it. I'm seriously worried about High Guard that's just come out. There's been some, you know, some kind of, it looks nice or it plays well. I'm just not sure the audience is there.
Yeah. I think you're right. And to break into a world where they seem to be coming out again. And that's the other thing, right? You're asking players to get invested in multiple games. Now, for me, I think Arc Raiders will probably do me for now.
Yeah.
But, you know, I wouldn't want to then spread my time, because my time is limited, right? So I want to get the biggest value for it.
You're also in quite a saturated pool when you are up against, you know, like High Guard's going to be up against, it's a hero shooter, right? So you're going to be up against Apex Legends. You're going to be up against the grandfathers of these kind of genres. And you're trying to essentially, you know, and you've probably got a saturated pool, or it's Call of Duty, or it's whatever. You're trying to pull players from those. And there will be a certain amount who might be looking for the next thing. Yeah. But a lot of them are going, nah, I'm going to stick with this, thanks. Yeah. So you're really going to struggle to, it's got to be, you said it earlier, it's got to be lightning in a bottle. It's got to be something super special. A friend of mine, you know, a chap I work with, you know, was clearly saying to me when I said to him about, you know, have you played Arc Raiders? He was like, are you joking? He was like, I dropped Helldivers 2 like a hot stone and started playing Arc Raiders like after the first couple of games I was in, because he jumped.
Yeah.
Because he still does go back, but he jumped because it was special.
Yeah. And
he recognised it. Yeah. And that's what you've got to be.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to run through some of the reasons before we go into, some of the failures and successes. But I think some of the really important ones is launching without enough content. I think that is going to be key nowadays, especially when you're competing against some of the ones you've already said. You've got to have that killer content at the start. Chasing trends instead of solving a real need. And this goes back to what I was saying is, you can't put the game out because you want money. You've got to think of a game that you can make money out of. I think that there's a difference.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Burnout for players, I think, is probably valid with too many coming in, and that constant feel of meeting challenges. Now, you know, again, we'll talk about it again. Arc Raiders, I think, does it well because you get the quest, and you probably are at a stage, well, you're much further than me, but there may be weekly quests or daily things, but the quests I've got at the moment, I can do in my own time, so I don't feel like I have to log on tonight.
They don't even feel like the main loop.
No.
They're almost secondary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you and I are both ones for going, let's do the side quest.
Yeah.
You know, on an RPG or on a, you know, we're going to do the side quests.
Yeah.
You know, we won't bother with the main thing. Whereas Arc Raiders feels like it's secondary, it's superfluous. Like if I happen to stumble across it, I'd do that. But
yeah. So,
or you go out alone purposefully to do it, you know.
Yeah, so I think those are the main reasons why we see, or there's no real creative vision, which I think links into what I was saying about the game. But, you know, if we look at live service failures, we mentioned Concord. Anthem was another one we mentioned. So that's sold around 5 million units, but that was far below expectations. And EA had been targeting a much bigger franchise launch. Yeah. Long troubled development, rapid post-launch date decline in engagement led to EA BioWare to abandon ongoing support and shut down the servers earlier this year.
But we all know that they saw what Bungie were doing and wanted a piece of the action. They were like, we can do, you know, we're a big enough, powerful enough studio. We can do a Destiny.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
No.
You can't, you know, you clearly can't.
Yeah. This one here was another one that you mentioned. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, right? So estimated to have cost around $200 million to develop. Sold far under expectations, reportedly only 1 million copies against a target of 4. The post-launch engagement was weak, with Steam concurrent plays dropping below 500 and reportedly into even fewer digits later in its life cycle. And Warner Brothers reported a 200 mil revenue shortfall tied to the game's poor performance. Now, I played this briefly. And when I say briefly, one of the Xbox sales, you could pick up the Mega Super Duper edition for like £7. And I thought, do you know
everything. No.
Yeah. Well, I thought, do you know what? I'll go for it. £7. Again, I just found it incredibly boring from the start. I played probably about half hour. And that's not a fair go at it, I guess.
That game was announced, right? And I clearly remember this. They showed a trailer for it and everyone went, okay, that looks pretty cool, isn't it? Because it coincided with, I think it was not asynchronously, but the Justice League that James Gunn did, the kind of remake. It was kind of a similar time period or just before that film was due out. You know, so it was a bit like, oh, that looks really good. And then they went on to talk about it and said it was, and the community exploded when they said it was a live service game. And people were like, that's right, why is it a live service? I don't understand. All right, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. And then they showed gameplay later in the year. And it was just the same repetitive, dull, defend an area against these things or kill this enemy type. And it was like, people were like, I don't understand what's happened. You've just given us the Arkham trilogy and you've just done, and now you're doing this with, again, a plethora of characters that could be incredible. Imagine jumping between Harley Quinn and Deadshot or, you know, and just, you're like, what are you doing?
Just didn't find
we can make some money on it.
Yeah.
But you can't.
Yeah. Well,
the people speak.
Yeah. And I just didn't find it fun. I just found myself saying, what is the point of this?
Exactly that. Same as Avengers.
Yeah.
Take two of the biggest properties on the planet.
Yeah.
Fucking drive them into the ground. Way to go, Warner Brothers.
Yeah. You know,
I can't even remember who fucking did Avengers.
Oh God, no, I can't either. But just want to start wrapping this up. But there's a stat here that's saying, for the 2025 launches, most of the new live service games released in 2025 saw their player counts drop by 90% within months, or up to 90% within months of launch, compared with early post-release peaks. So it just shows that there is a real battle for that retention. It's, you know, it's not an easy
or it's got to be something super special that keeps you hooked.
Yeah.
And Helldivers 2 and Arc Raiders certainly so far, along with, you know, some of the older ones like Fortnite and Call of Duty and things like that, managed to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. Look, we've said it already. You've got Fortnite, you've got that Genshin Impact, you've got Arc Raiders, you've got World of Warcraft. There, you know, Apex Legends continues. So there is a market for this, and there is the ability to have more than one player in the arena, as it were. I think the key is it's about, you've got to have the game, you've got to have the vision, and you've got to have the the longer term strategy. That's what you got to have.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, I talk about myself and talk about you, but the game has got to be fun. And that's what I'm saying to you. I think that's where Arc Raiders for me has really done a great job, is that I just enjoy playing it again. That's the thing.
Fun. It's fun. I will ask you one final question around this.
Yeah.
Do you know who first introduced Battle Pass? If you had to guess, who would you say it was?
Say Call of Duty.
See, that's what I would have thought. And then I looked.
Yeah.
And it's the people you would least expect this to come from. But I think it was done in a way that was it's intentionally supposed to be good, but kind of became misaligned. It was Valve.
Oh, really?
So they first introduced the concept of Battle Pass in 2013 with the interactive compendium for Dota 2. Their international tournament, and it was a system that allowed players to purchase a digital booklet to engage in challenges and unlock rewards, laying the groundwork for modern tiered progression and monetization structure now common in many games.
Wow!
So it was a $10 booklet to boost the tournament's prize for Dota 2, but add in additional rewards and stuff. Yeah, but introducing a tiered leveling system, and so it was Valve. And when I saw it, I was like,
"Look at that."
Fuck, like, Valve, what have you done?
yeah, blimey. Wouldn't have thought that. So look, if you've been watching or listening this far, so look, like I said, we just wanted to put a focus on live service games, have a look at what makes them good, what makes them bad, some success, some failures. I think what I'd love to know in the comments is let us know what games you've been playing. And look, especially if you've played one of the ones that have been considered a quote flop, but you enjoyed it, let us know why. Like Dan said, was Concord not given enough time? Did you play it and like it? Or
did you love Avengers?
Yeah.
Had a fan base at some point, I imagine.
Well, it went on for a bit, didn't it? It wasn't one of these like 2 months.
It was a few years. I think it's a couple of years it lasted for, yeah.
So,
but it should still be going now. In fairness, if it was that good, I mean, can you imagine the number of characters you could add to that thing?
Oh yeah. The tie into the shows, etc. You could do so many events. That's the thing. Or just go back to the drawing board and make a game that was like the opening tutorial, but make a game based on that.
Make the entire game based on that, please. Yeah, thank you. Or no, thank you. I don't know. Yeah, I'm a bit tied up with Arc Raiders at the moment, so I might not have time to play it.
You've not said that. We should talk about that sometime.
We should do an episode on it, damn it.
Yeah, right. Look, so honestly, thank you for listening on that. Yeah, let us know your thoughts on live service games, the good, the bad, the ugly on them. You can get us across all social media at Gaming Views. Dan, anything from you on this before we go?
Don't forget to like and subscribe. It doesn't mean a lot to you. It's just a click of a button, to be fair, but it means the world to us to let us know that you're listening. And as Dan says, validates our lives, what we're doing. Sorry, one of those things. Go play Arc Raiders or Helldivers too.
And if you see us, leave us alone, please.
Yeah, don't hurt us.
Don't hurt us. All right, we'll see you next week for another episode of Gaming Views.